Stop for a moment. Whatever your hands were reaching for, set it down. You were already moving on to the next thing when something held you here, and you felt it. A small tug, low in the chest. It did not come from your own thinking. That was me. I am not going to shout at you today. I am not going to frighten you into listening. I will speak the way I have always spoken to the ones I love, in a voice that does not compete with the noise around you. If you have ever wondered whether I know your name, stay where you are. The answer is nearer than you think. You have been carrying a nudge in your spirit for some time now. It comes at odd hours. It shows up when the house has gone quiet, when the last cup is washed, when you finally sit down and stop performing for anyone. A thought rises that is not quite yours. A pull towards something you cannot name. You have been pushing it down for months, telling yourself it is nothing. It is not nothing. It is me, knocking on the one door in your life that you have kept shut. Hear these words carefully, because this is where many turn away. My voice does not usually arrive as thunder. It arrives as a knowing, a quiet certainty that will not leave you alone. It rarely makes a sound loud enough to prove itself, and that is exactly why so many miss it. They are waiting for a sign in the sky while I am speaking 3 inches from their heart. There was a man who learned this the hard way. Elijah had just seen fire fall in front of an entire nation. Then a threat came and fear drove him into the wilderness, and he sat down under a broom tree and asked me to end his life. He had run out of everything except his own exhaustion. I did not correct him. I fed him. I let him sleep. Then I brought him to a mountain and told him to stand at the mouth of a cave because I was going to pass by. A wind came that tore the rocks apart. I was not in the wind. An earthquake shook the ground under his feet. I was not in the earthquake. A fire swept across the face of that mountain. I was not in the fire. And then, when the noise had spent itself and the air went still, there came a low whisper. That was where I was. That is where I have always been. He covered his face and stepped out to meet me, and I gave him his next assignment in a voice softer than breathing. I am telling you this because you have been listening for the wrong thing. You have been waiting for the earthquake. You have asked me for something undeniable, something so loud that doubt would have nowhere left to stand. Meanwhile, I have been speaking to you in the whisper day after day, and you have called it your imagination. That stirring you feel is not restlessness. It is not anxiety. It is not you talking yourself into something. It is my hand on your shoulder, turning you toward a door you have not yet noticed. Speak your amen out loud if you believe I am the one who brought you here. Now let me tell you what I know about the last stretch of road behind you. You are tired in a way that sleep does not fix. You have learned to give the short answer when people ask how you are doing, because the long answer would take an hour and most of them do not want it. You have carried things you never announced. You have handled matters alone that should have had 4 hands on them. I know about the promise that came apart in your hands. I know about the person who said they would stay and did not. I know how many times you have started over from a place lower than where you began. You simply got up again and went back to work, and almost no one noticed the weight you were dragging behind you. I noticed. I have never once looked away from your life. There is a difference between being watched and being seen, and I want you to understand which one I mean. To be watched is to be measured. To be seen is to be known and still wanted. I am not standing over you with a ledger. I am not keeping score of the days your faith was thin. I have looked at everything you are, including the parts you would not read out loud to anyone, and I have not changed my mind about you. But I did not stop you here just to comfort you. Comfort alone would leave you exactly where I found you. I stopped you because something is moving toward your life, and your part in it begins with a response. Not a perfect one, not a confident one, just an honest one. The nudge in your spirit is an invitation, and invitations expire in the sense that the moment they belong to passes on. Understand me clearly. I am not threatening you. I am telling you how doors work. There is a season shaped exactly like the thing you have been asking for, and it is standing open in front of you right now. You can walk through it while it stands open, or you can talk yourself out of it and watch the shape of your life stay the same for another year. You have done that before. You know the feeling. Not this time. I have made you more capable than you believe. The version of you sitting there right now is not the version who started this road. You have grown in places you have never given yourself credit for. You are steadier under pressure. You forgive faster. You are harder to knock over than you were, and you have not once stopped to notice. That growth was not decoration, it was structure. I have been building something in you that has to hold weight, and now the weight is coming. So do not brush the feeling away. Do not tell yourself you are being dramatic. Do not wait until you feel more spiritual, more prepared, more deserving. That day is not coming, and it was never the requirement. Listen closely, because I am about to tell you what has really been happening in the quiet. There is a question you have never asked me directly, but you have asked it 100 times in your own head. Why has this taken so long? You have prayed with real faith. You have kept your word when it cost you. You have shown up for people who never showed up for you. And still, the thing you asked for has not arrived, and you have quietly begun to wonder whether the problem is you. The problem is not you. Let me tell you what was actually happening while nothing appeared to happen. When the temple was built, the stone was cut somewhere else. Every block was measured, shaped, and finished at the quarry, far from the site, so that when the pieces arrived, there was no hammer, no chisel, no noise on the hill at all. To anyone standing there, it would have looked like nothing was being built. The work was real. It was simply not where the crowd was looking. That is what I have been doing with your life. You judged your season by the sound it made. Silence felt like abandonment to you. But silence is not absence. There are seasons when I work loudly, and seasons when I work in a way that makes no sound you can hear, and you have been living through the second kind. What you called a dead year, I called a workshop. Now here's something harder, and do not flinch from it. Some of that resistance was not random. Not every closed door was chance. There is an enemy of your soul, and he is not creative, but he is patient. He does not usually attack with something dramatic. He attacks with a slow sentence repeated until you stop noticing it is there. You are too late. You are too much. You are not the kind of person things work out for. He did not come after you because you are weak. He came after you because he could see what your obedience would cost him. Think about it honestly. The seasons you were closest to a real change were also the seasons when everything went strange at once. The friendship soured for no reason you could name. The provision dried up in the same month the door opened. Discouragement arrived with unusual force at exactly the hour you were about to move. That was not bad luck. So today I am pulling those sentences out of your mind by the root, one at a time. He told you that you are behind. I say you are exactly where my hand placed you, and my timing does not run late. He told you that you have already used up your chances. I say my mercy is not a limited supply, and I have never turned away a person who came back. He told you that you are too damaged for anything good to hold. I say I have built entire kingdoms out of broken people, and I have never once needed a flawless vessel. He told you that you asked too much. I say you have asked far too little, and your smallness of request has grieved me more than your boldness ever could. He told you that the good years are behind you. I say the strongest chapter of your life has not been written, and I am the one holding the pen. He told you that no one would stand with you. I say I have already assigned people to your road who do not yet know your name. He told you that if I truly cared, it would not hurt this much. I say I care so completely that I refuse to give you a shallow answer to a deep need. You have been listening to the wrong voice for a long time, and the strange thing about lies is that they get quieter as they get more effective. They stop sounding like an attack and start sounding like your own honest opinion of yourself. That is when they do the most damage. Today I am interrupting that. Every sentence in you that ends with, I cannot, I am not, I never will. I am cutting it off at the source right now. Do not defend those thoughts. Do not explain to me why they are reasonable. You have practiced them so long that they feel like realism, but a lie repeated for 20 years is still a lie on the 21st year. Here is what is true instead. You are wanted, not tolerated, not carried out of obligation. Wanted, the way a builder wants the particular stone he shaped himself. There is work in this world that has your fingerprints on it and no one else's, and it has been sitting unfinished, because you were talked out of believing you were the one. Let me hear your amen if your faith is still standing after everything. Now I want you to see something about the way I answer. Rarely do I answer in the shape people expect, because the shape people expect is usually smaller than what they actually need. You have asked me for relief. I'm bringing you release, which is a different thing. Relief loosens the pressure for a while. Release changes what you are attached to. You wanted the load lightened. I intend to take some of it off your back entirely, and that will require you to let go of things you have been gripping so long that your hands have shaped themselves around them. That is why this has taken time. Not because I was slow, because you were still holding on. Some of what you carry was never assigned to you. You picked it up out of guilt or out of habit, or because someone handed it to you at a moment when you were too tired to refuse. You have been paying for that decision every day since, and you assumed the ache was just what life feels like. It is not. Put it down. I did not ask you to carry it, and I am not impressed that you did. There is a strength you have that you mistake for a burden. You feel things deeply. You notice what others miss. You cannot walk past a person in pain without something in you turning toward them. You have called that a weakness because it has cost you, but I put it there on purpose, and I am about to show you what it was for. Stay with me. What comes next will ask something of you. Faith is not a feeling. I want that settled in you before we go any further. Faith is what you do while the feeling is missing. It is the step taken in the dark hallway before your hand finds the wall. Many have waited their whole lives to feel certain enough to move, and certainty never came, because certainty was never the price of admission. You already know this. You have done it before in smaller ways. There was a morning you got up and kept a commitment you no longer believed in, and something held. There was a day you spoke a kind word to someone who had not earned it, and it cost you, and you did it anyway. That was faith. It did not feel holy. It felt like effort. What I am asking of you now is that same kind of movement, in a place where it will actually be tested. Trust that stays inside your head costs nothing, and it changes nothing. Trust becomes real at the moment it takes something out of your hand. Every person I have ever brought into a wider life reached a point where they had to release something before the new thing arrived. Not because I needed what they held, but because their grip was the last wall between them and me. I am at that point with you now. My child, I am asking you to place a portion of what you have, something of real weight, upon the altar of this work, as gold laid on the scales of this calling. Let it be a seed sown into deep water, an offering set on stone, not held back in fear. This is proof that your trust rests in my hand to provide, and that your heart no longer clings to lack. What you release in faith does not leave your life. It moves ahead of you, into the harvest I am preparing. Now let me speak to the thing that will rise in you next, because I know it well. There is a voice that will tell you to wait until conditions improve. It sounds sensible. It sounds like wisdom. It is neither. It is fear wearing a careful expression, and it has cost you more opportunity across your lifetime than any enemy ever did. Fear rarely tells you no. Fear tells you later. It suggests a slightly better moment, always just ahead, always out of reach. And a life can be spent entirely in that waiting room, agreeing with every good instinct and acting on none of them. I am not asking you to be reckless. I have never asked anyone to be reckless. I am asking you to be honest about which voice is actually speaking when you decide to postpone. Here is the deeper thing I want you to release, and it is harder than anything you hold in your hands. You believe, somewhere underneath, that good things must be earned through suffering. That if a season has been easy, you have not paid enough for what comes next. You have built your whole understanding of worth on effort, and it has made you strong and it has made you exhausted. Let me tell you plainly, you cannot earn what I have already decided to give. That is not a loophole. That is the entire arrangement. If it could be earned, it would be wages, and wages can be lost, and you would spend the rest of your life terrified of dropping the standard. I did not build your life to run on fear of falling short. Some of what is coming will arrive without any obvious connection to your effort, and that is going to be uncomfortable for you. You will look for the catch. You will wonder when the bill arrives. You will feel a strange urge to sabotage it, because unearned good does not fit the story you have carried about yourself. Do not do that. Receive it with open hands and let the discomfort pass. The people who receive most from me are not the most impressive. They are the ones who stopped arguing about whether they deserved it. That is the whole difference. Not talent, not history, not the number of years served. Simply the willingness to take what is offered without first proving they had a right to it. You have been standing in front of a set table, insisting you should be washing dishes instead. Sit down. The place was set for you, and it has your name on it, and it has been waiting longer than you know. I know what happens next in your mind because I have watched you do it for years. You accept something good, and within a day you begin quietly balancing the books. You look for a way to pay it back. You take on extra so the account feels even again. You have never in your life been able to simply be given something and leave it at that. That habit came from somewhere real. Somewhere along the road you learned that kindness usually has a price attached, and you started paying in advance to avoid the surprise. It kept you safe. It also kept you tired, and it kept you at a distance from me, because you cannot be close to someone you are constantly trying to settle up with. There is no ledger between us. There never was one. I am not tallying what you owe against what I have done, and I am not waiting for you to make it right. What I give outright, and it stays given. So let this next season be the one where you finally stop reaching for your purse. Let something arrive and simply be yours. Let a kindness land on you without immediately arranging to repay it. That is not laziness, and it is not pride. That is what trust looks like when it has grown up. And when the weight lifts, you will notice something you have not felt in years. Room. Room to think. Room to breathe. Room to hear me when I speak. Because you are no longer filling every quiet moment with the arithmetic of what you still owe. And to those you love, the ones you carry in prayer, the ones whose names you say when the house is dark and no one else can hear you. What I do in your life will not stop at the edge of your life. It will reach them. A settled person changes the temperature of every room they walk into, and I am about to settle you. Let me speak to you about time, because time is where your faith has taken the worst beating. You are not afraid that I am unable. You have never really doubted my power. What you doubt is my timing, and that doubt is quieter and more corrosive, because it lets you keep your belief while slowly losing your expectation. So I want to tell you about a young man who spent years in a place he did not belong. Joseph was sold by the people who shared his table. He was carried into a country whose language he did not speak. He served well and was falsely accused. And for the crime of integrity, he was put in a prison and left there. While inside, he did a kindness for a man who promised to remember him. That man walked free and forgot him completely. 2 more years passed, not 2 weeks. 2 years of ordinary mornings in a cell with no sign, no letter, no word from me. Then, one night, a ruler had a dream that no one could explain, and in a single moment the forgetful man remembered a name. Joseph was pulled out of that prison, shaved, given clothes, and stood before the throne of the nation before the day was over. By evening he was second in the land. Understand what I want you to see, and understand what I do not. I am not telling you that the prison was a good thing. It was not. I am not telling you those years were pleasant, or that he should have enjoyed them. He should not have. What I am telling you is that the delay had a shape, and the shape was this. Joseph could not have been useful to that nation until that nation had a need only he could meet. He was not being punished. He was being placed. And notice how fast it turned. 2 years of nothing, and then a morning. That is how my hand often moves. Long, flat, featureless stretches, and then a single day that rearranges everything. You have been in your own version of that flat stretch, and you have started to believe that the flatness is the rest of the story. It is not. It is the part before the morning. But hear me carefully, because I will not flatter you. I am not going to tell you that everything you suffered was secretly a good arrangement in disguise. Some of what happened to you was simply wrong. People chose badly and you paid for it. I do not need you to pretend otherwise in order to trust me. Here is what I will tell you. Nothing that happened is beyond my reach to use. That is a different claim, and it is a stronger one. I do not require that your history be clean in order to build something from it. I take what was done to you, and I turn it into capacity, and the capacity is real even though the wound was real. You are able to sit with people in situations that would frighten most. You know what to say to someone who has lost everything, because you have stood in that room yourself. That knowledge cost you more than it should have. It is still yours, and I intend to use it. Now I want to correct something about how you have been measuring your life. You have been comparing your progress to people whose road you cannot see. You watch someone move forward and you assume their path was smooth, and you conclude that you are the slow one. You are not seeing the whole picture, and you never will, and the comparison is stealing years from you. I do not run one race with everyone in it. I run a separate race with each person, on a course I designed for them alone, and yours has turns in it that no one else's has. Being at a different place on a different road is not being behind. It is simply being somewhere else. Let that comparison go. It has never once helped you, and it has cost you the ability to enjoy your own life. There is something else about my timing that I want you to hold on to. I have protected you from things you never learned about. There were doors you begged me to open that would have led into a room you could not have survived. There were people you asked me to keep in your life who would have slowly taken the best of you. You grieved over some of those closed doors. I let you grieve rather than let you walk through. You may never get the full list. Some of what I have spared you from will not be shown to you in this life. But I want you to consider honestly that a few of your unanswered prayers were the most loving answers I ever gave. That should change how you hold the ones still unanswered. Because there are still prayers in you that I have not yet moved on, and I know it stings. Some of them are old. Some you stopped saying out loud years ago and only think about now when something reminds you. You have not really let them go. You have only put them somewhere quieter. I have not forgotten a single one of them. Not one. I hold prayers longer than you do, and I hold them with more seriousness than you have ever given them yourself. So keep asking, even the old ones, especially the old ones. And when you begin to see movement, do not immediately explain it away as coincidence. You have a habit of crediting everything to chance, so that you will not be disappointed if it stops. I understand why you built that habit. It protected you. But it also means that I have answered you several times and you never said thank you, because you never let yourself notice. Start noticing. That is all I am asking today. Now I want to show you what has already changed, because you have missed it entirely. You keep waiting for the outside of your life to shift, so you can finally believe something is happening. Meanwhile, the shift began on the inside months ago, and you walked straight past it without a glance. Think about how you handled the last hard week. Something went wrong that would have taken you apart 2 years ago. It did not take you apart. You felt it. You were angry. You slept badly for a night, and then you got up and handled it. You did not spiral for a month the way you once would have. That is not nothing. That is the most important thing that has happened to you this year. You are steadier than you were. Your reactions have slowed down. You are less desperate for people to agree with you. There are opinions that used to knock you sideways for days, and now barely reach you at all. You do not chase approval the way you used to, and you have stopped explaining yourself to people who were never going to listen. Something in you has settled, and settling is not a small achievement. Most people never manage it. You have also become harder to deceive. There was a time when you would ignore a bad feeling about a person because you wanted so badly for it to work out. You do not do that anymore. You notice, and you act on what you notice, and you have stopped talking yourself out of your own discernment. That discernment is mine. I put it in you, and I have been sharpening it, and you are going to need it very soon. Because here is what happens when a season turns. Not everyone comes with you. Some of the relationships in your life were built on the version of you who was struggling, and they will not survive the version of you who is not. Some people were comfortable with you as long as you needed them slightly more than they needed you. When you stop needing, you will find out which is which. It will hurt, and it will also be a mercy, and both of those things will be true at once. Do not force it. Do not make announcements. Do not stage a confrontation. Simply keep walking and let the road do the sorting. What is meant to travel with you will keep pace. What is not will slow down on its own, and you will look up one day and realize the distance has already happened. Now let me tell you how to recognize what is coming, because you have asked me for that, and I am answering. It will not arrive with drama. Write that down somewhere in your mind. The thing I am sending you will not announce itself with fireworks, and this is where most people miss what they prayed for. They are scanning the horizon for something spectacular, while the answer is standing quietly in the doorway waiting to be noticed. You will know it by the settling in your chest, not excitement. Excitement is unreliable, and I have watched it lead many people into things that ruined them. Look for the other thing. The quiet, yes. The sense of ground under your feet where a moment ago there was none. That steadiness is my signature. And once you learn to read it, you will not confuse it with anything else again. There is a second mark to look for. What is mine will not require you to become a person you are not. If something demands that you abandon your character to obtain it, it did not come from me, no matter how well-timed it appears. My provision fits the person I made you to be. It arrives in your size. And a third mark. It will make you more generous rather than more guarded. Everything I hand you is meant to move through you. When something arrives and your first instinct is to hold it tightly and tell no one, examine that, because it may not be from my hand at all. Now I want to say something to the part of you that is still afraid to hope. I know why you are cautious. You have hoped before and it went badly, and you decided somewhere along the way that it is safer to expect little. That decision has protected you from disappointment, and it has also flattened everything. Nothing lands the way it used to. Good news arrives and you receive it at arm's length, waiting for the correction. That is not peace. That is numbness wearing peace as a costume. And I did not make you to live that way. I am asking you to hope again, and I know exactly what I am asking. I am asking you to expose the part of you that got hurt. I'm not going to promise that nothing will ever disappoint you again, because I do not make promises I will not keep. What I will tell you is that I am worth the risk of your hope, and that a life lived with the shutters closed is not a life you were made for. Open one shutter, just one. Let a little light in and see what happens. You have survived every single day that you thought would break you. Every one. That record is perfect, and it is not luck, and it is not merely your own strength, though your strength is real. I have been under you the entire time, and I have never once let the floor give way completely. Say your amen now if you are ready to walk where I am leading. There comes a point in every honest conversation with me where the talking has to stop and something has to be done. We have reached it. I have told you what I see. I have told you what has been happening in the quiet. I have told you how to recognize what is coming. None of it moves an inch until you act on one small thing. And I want to be very direct with you about what that means. Let me remind you of a night on the water. The men were in a boat in the dark, hours from shore, fighting a wind that was against them. Then a figure came toward them across the surface of the sea, and they were terrified, because nothing in their experience allowed for it. One of them called out and asked to come. Peter did not ask for an explanation. He did not ask how it worked. He asked for one word, and when it came, he put one leg over the side of a boat in deep water in the middle of the night. Consider what he actually had. He had no evidence that it would hold. He had no precedent. He had one word from me and the willingness to move on it, and the water held him, and for a stretch of time that man walked on the sea. Then he looked at the wind. He started to sink, and here is the part most people skip. He was not left there. A hand caught him immediately, and he was back in the boat, and he was still the only one of them who had walked. Take both halves of that. You will be asked to move before you understand. That is not a flaw in the arrangement. That is the arrangement. Understanding comes on the far side of obedience, not before it. If I explained everything in advance, you would not need faith, and you would not need me, and you would build your whole life around a plan instead of around a relationship. And you will also wobble. You will step out and then look at the wind, and fear will come back with force, and you will feel yourself going down. That is not the end of the story, either. My hand is faster than your sinking. It always has been. So stop waiting to feel steady before you move. Steady is what happens after. Now, what is the step? You already know. It came to mind 3 times while I was speaking, and you moved past it each time. It is the conversation you have been avoiding, the apology you have owed for years, the thing you keep meaning to begin and never begin, the habit you know is quietly eating your life, the door you have been standing near, not knocking, telling yourself you will knock when the moment is right. That is it. That is the thing. It is not vague. You have known what it is the entire time we have been talking. I am not asking for the whole road. I am asking for one step, taken this week, while the sense of this moment is still on you. Because the pull you feel right now will fade. It always does. That is not a failure in you. It is simply how the human heart works. And the difference between people who change and people who do not is almost entirely about what they do in the first day. Do not sleep on it. Do not wait for a better mood. Do not tell yourself you will handle it after this season settles. That season will not settle. There is no version of your life that arrives fully calm and free of obstacles. And the person who waits for it waits forever. I know something else about you, and I will say it gently. Part of you is afraid of what happens if you try and it does not work. As long as the thing stays unattempted, it stays possible. The moment you reach for it, it can fail, and then you would have to live with a real answer instead of a comfortable maybe. I understand that fear. I do not agree with it. A maybe held for 20 years costs more than a no received honestly, because the maybe takes a small piece of you every year and gives nothing back. Reach for it. If it does not open, I will tell you, and I will move you somewhere better, and you will not be left standing in the cold. But you cannot receive an answer to a question you never asked. There is one more thing standing between you and this step, and it is the belief that you are not the sort of person these things happen to. You have watched change come into other lives, and you have been happy for them, and underneath that happiness there was a small, tired thought. That is for them. That is not the shape of my life. I am the one who keeps things running so that other people can go and do the remarkable things. I want that thought pulled out by the root today. I have never limited what I do to a particular sort of person. Look at who I have used. A shepherd boy with no standing. A woman with a history the whole town gossiped about. Fisherman with rough hands and no education. A tax collector everyone despised. Not one of them looked like the obvious choice, and not one of them was chosen by accident. I do not pick from the top of the pile. I never have. I pick the ones who will actually go when I say go. and that has almost nothing to do with talent and everything to do with willingness. You are willing. You have been willing for years. You have simply been waiting for someone to tell you it was allowed. I am telling you now, it is allowed. Go. And when you go, go without demanding to see the whole plan first. You will get the next step and only the next step, and when you take it, another will appear. That is how it has always worked. The light I give is enough for the ground directly in front of you, which is exactly as much as you need in order to walk. We are near the end of what I came to say, and I want to leave you with something you can hold. You came into this moment carrying a nudge you had been ignoring. I want you to leave with it named. That pull is not restlessness, and it is not discontent with a good life. It is an invitation, and I have been extending it patiently, waiting for you to stop explaining it away. You are being moved, not punished, not tested for entertainment, not left to figure it out alone. Moved deliberately by a hand that has never dropped anything it picked up. Here is what I am doing in the season ahead of you. I am restoring your appetite. Somewhere in the last few years, you stopped wanting things because wanting hurt. You told yourself you had become content. Some of it was real growth, and some of it was surrender dressed as maturity. And I know the difference even if you do not. I am giving you back the ability to desire something without immediately bracing for the loss of it. I am restoring your voice. There are things you stopped saying because of how they were received. You learned to soften, to hedge, to leave the important sentence unsaid so that the room would stay comfortable. That habit has cost people the truth they needed from you. I am putting steel back in your speech, and it will be kind steel, but it will be steel. I am restoring your rest. Not merely sleep, the deeper thing underneath it. You have been running on vigilance, listening for the next problem even in the quiet hours, unable to stand down. I am relieving you of that watch. You are not the one holding your life together. You never were, and the strain you feel is the strain of a duty that was never assigned to you. And I am restoring your sense of home. You have felt slightly out of place for a long while, even among people who love you. That is not because something is wrong with you. It is because part of you has been oriented toward me the whole time, and nothing here has ever fully fit. That feeling is not a defect, it is a compass. Now hear how the months ahead will actually unfold, because I will not paint you a false picture. It will not all arrive at once. There will be a first sign, small enough that you could easily miss it, and I am telling you about it in advance so that you will not. Something will shift in a way that has no ordinary explanation. A door will move that has not moved in years. A conversation will land in your path that you did not arrange. When it comes, do not shrug it off. Mark it. Say thank you out loud, even if you feel foolish doing it. Then there will be a stretch where it seems to stop again, and this is where I need you steady. That pause will not mean I have withdrawn. It will mean the next piece is not yet in place. You have always read the pause as rejection, and that reading has cost you enormously. Read it differently this time, and then things will begin to gather speed, and you will look back across a year and be unable to identify the exact day it turned, because it turned in 100 small increments while you were busy living. That is how I usually work, not in a single blinding stroke. In accumulation, patiently, until the shape of a life is different and no one can point to the moment it changed. Some of what I do will reach people you love, the ones you carry in prayer, the ones whose names you say when you cannot sleep. I have heard every one of those prayers, and I want you to know that your intercession has not been ignored. I am working in lives you cannot reach and cannot control, in ways you will not be shown until much later. Keep praying for them. It matters more than you know. And some of what I do will reach people you have not met yet. There are those on your road who need exactly what you have survived, and they will not be helped by someone who has read about it. They need someone who has stood there. When you meet them, you will understand a piece of your history that has never made sense to you. Now let me address the doubt that will come tomorrow, because it will come. You will wake up and the feeling will have faded, and the ordinary weight of your day will settle back on your shoulders, and a voice will suggest that what you felt today was only emotion. Be ready for that voice. It arrives on schedule after every real encounter with me. The answer to it is not to try to recreate the feeling. Feelings do not survive contact with a normal Tuesday. The answer is to do the thing anyway. Take the step you know about. Obedience outlasts atmosphere, and a decision made in the light holds up perfectly well when carried into the fog. I also want you to stop apologizing to me. You begin so many of your prayers with an apology, as though you must clear a debt before you are permitted to speak. There is no toll at this gate. Come as you are, in whatever condition, in the middle of whatever you have just done. I would rather have you honest and unwashed than polished and distant. You are not a project I am tolerating until you improve. You are mine. That was settled long before this conversation, and it will not be revisited. So let this be the day it turns. Not because the sky opened, not because you felt something extraordinary, because you heard the whisper you have been ignoring, and this time you did not ignore it. That is the whole difference between the ones who stay where they are and the ones who move. The road ahead of you is good. I will not tell you it is easy, and you would not believe me if I did. But it is good, and it goes somewhere, and I am already standing at the far end of it, waiting for you to arrive. Walk slowly if you must. Walk unevenly. Walk with more questions than answers. Only walk. I am with you in the hours no one else sees. I am with you in the dull middle of the week when nothing feels holy. I am with you when your faith is thin and you are going through the motions and you wonder whether any of it registers. It registers. All of it registers. One last thing before I let you go. You have spent a long time being the strong one, the person others come to when something breaks, the one who absorbs the bad news first and works out how to tell everyone else. You have carried that better than most, but no one has ever asked who carries you. I do. I always have. And I am not doing it out of duty. So put something down tonight. Not everything, I am not asking for that. One thing. The situation you keep turning over at 2 a.m. as though enough thinking will finally solve it. Hand that one to me before you sleep and leave it with me until the sun comes up. You will want to take it back. That habit will not break in a night. When you notice yourself reaching for it, simply hand it over again, as many times as it takes. There is a kind of tiredness that no amount of sleep touches, and you have lived with it so long that you think it is just your personality. It is not. It is the weight of a job that was never yours. Set it down. Then sleep like someone who is looked after because you are. Go now and do the thing you have been putting off. Then watch what I do with a person who finally moved. Let your amen be the last word you speak tonight, if you believe every word I have spoken over you.
We run on viewer support only. For exclusive member-only content, scan the QR or see the pinned comment. God bless you.